$1,435 every single month. That's what a bladder that leaks and won't quit can be worth in VA disability. And here's the part nobody says out loud. Most veterans who qualify never file, because it's the one problem they will not bring up at the exam. So let's fix that today, plainly and with numbers. And there's one number on this claim you write yourself, not the doctor. Get it right, and it moves you from 20% to 60%.
Erica here, and here's the ruling up front. The VA doesn't rate the word bladder. It rates voiding dysfunction, the medical name for a bladder that leaks, races, or won't empty. Same body, a few different doors to a rating.
Michael here. Look at where these live. One rule book, 38 CFR 4.115A, the voiding dysfunction schedule. Bladder control, sphincter loss, outlet blockage, stones, even a fistula, they all funnel into it.
Almost. I'm Sarah, and here's the fine print. Some of those get their own code first. Then the code says, rate as voiding dysfunction. The bladder stone code 7515 does exactly that. Same door every time.
Yeah, and the number scares people, so say it plainly, Erica.
Fair. At the low end, a mild leak rates 20%, about $356 a month for a veteran alone. A heavy leak, 60%, about $1,435. Both things are true. It can be small, and it can be real money.
Take the whole list, because this isn't one rare thing. Bladder control issues, bladder sphincter loss, bladder outlet obstruction, a bladder diverticulum, bladder stones, fecal incontinence, and a urethral fistula. Different problems, one shared question.
Okay, there's a question people are almost afraid to type into the search bar. Erica, say it out loud and answer it straight.
Fair enough, and I get why they hesitate. Can you really get VA disability just for bladder problems without cancer or surgery first? And the honest answer, yes. You're rated on how the bladder works today, cancer or not. Leakage and frequency alone can carry a real rating.
That's the whole promise. It pays on function, and you don't need a catastrophe to qualify. Everything we cover today, plus the full VA conditions list and a free tools page, lives at va.professorerica.com. Coming up, how a bladder problem connects to your service, the one number that can double your check, and the exam most veterans dread. Here's where most of you actually get paid. Not the bladder problem by itself, but what caused it.
Run the two paths. Path 1 is direct. Something in service hurt the bladder, a pelvic injury, a catheter infection, radiation to the area. It's on your record and you connect the dots straight.
Careful though. Path 2 is where the money hides, and most veterans walk right past it. 38 CFR 3.310. If a condition the VA already rates caused the bladder problem rides in with it.
Rules like this land better from someone who runs these claims for a living. Let me get her on the line.
Glad to jump in. And your team named the hinge 3.310. On a bladder claim, the secondary path is usually the winner. The most common one I see, an enlarged prostate the VA already rates, blocking the flow, causing obstructed voiding. Diabetes is a close second, through nerve damage, the neurogenic bladder.
And the mistake that sinks these, filing the bladder problem alone and never naming the cause. Skip that box, and a ratter sees a bladder issue with no service story and denies it.
Right, and it's never too late just because the symptom showed up years after service. If the cause is service-connected, the timing doesn't sink you.
Michael, you've been holding a question. Put it to her.
I have. If the prostate is what's blocking the flow, do I file the bladder problem separately, or does it just fold into the prostate rating?
File it separately as its own voiding dysfunction. The prostate rating and the bladder rating measure different things, and combined the right way, the two together often beat either one alone.
Hold on. On top of the prostate rating, not instead of it?
On top, when the symptoms are genuinely separate, that's the piece most veterans leave sitting on the table. If I leave you with one thing, read your own records first, then start a diary. That's where I'd begin. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you jumping on the line. So the cause is your key. Next, we find your exact number, and there are 3 doors to it. Before we keep going, one small favor that actually moves the needle. If this is landing for you, tap like, then subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss the rest. 2 taps, completely free, and it pushes this in front of more people who need it.
Take the schedule apart because this is where your number actually comes from. Voiding dysfunction has 3 doors and you walk through exactly one.
Door 1 is leakage, and here's the ruling. It's rated on a number you can count. How many times a day you change an absorbent pad? Change it less than twice a day, 20%. 2 to 4 times, 40%. More than 4 times a day or you need an appliance, 60%.
Yeah, the more it costs you day to day, the more it pays. Grim, but that's the schedule.
Door 2 is frequency, how often you go. Daytime gaps of 2 to 3 hours or up twice a night, 10%. 1 to 2 hours or up 3 to 4 times a night, 20%. Under an hour or 5 or more times a night, 40%.
Log in and look at door 3, obstructed voiding. That's hesitancy, a weak stream, or full retention. 0, 10, or 30%, and 30 if you need a catheter to empty it all.
So a veteran with all 3, you'd add them up, right? Leakage plus frequency plus blockage.
Wrong, and this is the one that saves claims. You don't stack the 3. You rate the predominant symptom, the loudest one, and only that one. File the stone code. Wait, no, I had that backwards. The stone code just points you here. The predominant symptom rule is the schedule itself.
Okay, that changes how I'd file it. You don't want the average of 3 mild problems. You want the loudest door pointed at the highest percentage.
Wait, so 2 mild problems don't beat 1 severe one?
Correct. 1 severe door beats 2 mild ones every time, so document the worst symptom hardest and aim the claim at that door.
Verdict time. Find your loudest door, then prove it. Next, what those doors actually pay in this year's dollars. A percentage isn't real until it's a check. So let's turn one veteran's bladder into a paycheck in this year's numbers.
Meet Ray, 61, already rated for diabetes from his service. The diabetes damaged the nerves to his bladder, a neurogenic bladder, and now he leaks all day. Secondary path, straight through 3.310.
Run the leakage door. Ray changes a pad more than 4 times a day. That's the top tier, 60%.
Start at the top. 60% pays $1,435.02 a month for a veteran alone in 2026.
Now drop Ray to the mild tier, a pad changed less than twice a day, 20%, $356.66. Same bladder, quieter symptom.
So the loudest door versus the quietest on one bladder is $1,078 every month.
Wait, over $1,000 a month on symptoms alone, no surgery?
Symptoms alone, run it across a year and it's just under $13,000 for the same veteran carrying a quieter rating. That's the cost of under-documenting.
And that's the honest mechanism. Both things are true. Ray didn't earn more for suffering. He earned it because the exam measured a worse symptom. The number tracks the function, nothing else.
Which raises the blunt question you all have, and Sarah pulled it off the comments. Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, the blunt one. Is a mild 20% bladder rating even worth filing? Or should I just wait until it gets severe? And honestly, $356 a month is over $4,000 a year tax-free for an afternoon of forms. That's worth it.
Worth it isn't always a yes, and we'll settle that head-on before we close. Here's the thing though, every claim runs through one document first, and it's one you fill out yourself.
Every dollar we just walked runs through one piece of paper, and it's the one you control, not the doctor. You.
The one resource I'd hand every veteran here is avoiding diary. 7 days, every pad you change and every trip at night, written down. It's the exact page a rater looks for, the kind of page my cats, Bodley and Folio, would plant themselves on if it were paper, and it's the number that decides your tier.
Log in and keep it simple. A pad changed at 8, noon, 4, and 9 is 4 changes. Write the times. That's the difference between 40% and 60% in your own handwriting.
Verdict time on a myth I hear constantly. You need a lawyer just to file this. Half true at best. A messy appeal, maybe? But this claim? This is the rare one you really can file yourself, and I love when a hack turns out true.
Here's the ruling on the form. It all goes on VA Form 21-526EZ, the application for disability compensation. And 2 boxes decide everything.
Watch the 2 boxes. In the condition column, you name it exactly, voiding dysfunction, and right beside it, in the cause column, you name the rated condition behind it, your diabetes, your prostate. That second box is what opens the secondary path.
One more piece, the back pay clock. It starts the day your claim lands at the VA, not the day the leak began. The rule is 38 CFR 3.400, whichever is later, the claim date or the date the problem arose. So the move is simple. File, and the clock starts running for you.
And the one hard line. No documented symptom, no rating. A bladder that tests clean on a scan but leaks all day still pays, but only if your diary proves the leak. The scan isn't the evidence, your record is.
So the paper is the power here. Document the symptom, name the cause, start the clock, which leaves the real question. Is a mild rating even worth all this? Let's settle it. Here's the honest fork we owe you. Erica says any documented bladder symptom is worth filing. Michael says your time and your dignity are resources too, and a mild rating can cost more than it pays. Let's pressure test it.
File it. If your diary shows a real symptom, that's 20% minimum, over $4,000 a year, tax-free, for evidence you already have. And remember the number Tiffany said you write yourself, the pads per day count. Leaving that undocumented is leaving cash on the table.
Slow down. $4,000 a year, sure, if you win. But a bladder claim means a compensation and pension exam where you describe out loud to a stranger how often you leak. For some veterans, that exam is the exact reason they never file. That cost is real, even if it's not on a rate table.
Michael, that's the dignity cost nobody prints. Erica, does that change your always?
It sharpens it. It doesn't change the math. Where the symptom is documented and the cause is a rated condition, file every time. Where it's borderline, or the exam is too much right now, build the diary and line up the nexus first, then file when you're ready. I'll give Michael that. It isn't free.
And I'll give Erica this. If it's secondary to a rating you already hold, the link is half built. That one I'd file every single time.
So here's what I'd actually do, and the schedule backs it. If your diary documents the symptom and it ties to a service-connected cause, file, that's 20 to 60% the VA owes you. If it's borderline, build the diary and the nexus first, so your 50-50 is really a 50-50. And if that exam is too much today, that's a human call, not a failure. That's the honest verdict. Document the loudest symptom, name the cause, and file on your terms. Erica, Michael, thank you both. Let me boil this down. The VA pays on how your bladder works right now, not on a diagnosis. And the number that decides your rating is one you write down yourself.
The piece I'd hold on to, rate the loudest symptom. Leakage, frequency, or blockage, you pick the worst one and point it at the highest tier. You don't stack them.
Mine's the diary, pads per day, nights up, 7 days in your own hand. That single sheet is the difference between 40% and 60%.
And mine's the cause. Name the rated condition behind it, the prostate or the diabetes in that second box. That's the secondary path, and it's where most of the money lives.
If this cleared up something you were never going to bring up, go ahead and subscribe. We're working straight down the VA conditions list, and every like nudges this in front of the next veteran quietly living with it. Wait until you see the next one. There's a bladder condition that can hit 100% all by itself, and hardly anyone files it. So here's your one move tonight. Open a notebook and start a 7-day diary. Just the times you change a pad and the nights you're up. If your symptom is real, half your claim is already sitting on that page and you just haven't filed it yet, and a real one for the comments before you click away. Did any doctor ever tell you your pads per day number is what sets your bladder rating? Test the tip before you trust the tip. See you next time.
That was a clean kill, Tiffany. No wasted words. 8.8. This is Professor Erica. Thanks for watching and signing off.